That's a great idea. Yeah, whatever you guys want, whenever you guys are free. Are you guys this weekend? You're at Coachella. We can do the week. Is week 3 good?
Yeah. Most likely.
Like before week 4. Like week 4, it like gets intense. We can do week 3. We can do either weekend or during the week. What do you guys prefer?
Depends. I have a different social.
Oh, okay. We can do, yeah, Saltel is like a lot of good food. Hello.
They have a really good experience.
Sorry, I don't think we can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, we can hear you too. Okay, great. Okay, so we are going to watch the Hook video together today. But we'll start out together really quickly. But I don't know if you can see everybody, but okie doke. Do you want to start, or should I just get into what we're doing as a group right now?
I can go ahead and start, and then you guys can go ahead and do the group action. And then I'll be kind of out of the way. That way it's not confusing for people.
Okay, no problem. Take it away.
All right. Well, I'm sure by now most of you have met your developmental editors and have done at least some work with them or had a phone call with them. And I'm just going to talk to you a little bit about developmental editing, what it really is, and what we're here to do. And then I'll be able to answer any questions you might have about whether it's developmental editing, or copy editing, or just the process in general. So what we do as developmental editors is try to help you find a clarity of your idea and your themes. And so we're going to do that by helping you with your structure. We're going to do that by helping you with some of your ideas in them themselves. I know that some of you had questions about even your interview questions, about how to turn your stories into those interviews into stories, and then how you're going to build those stories into chapters. Your DE is here to help you with all of that. And we're going to help you do that by helping refine your content. And sometimes that's going to be coming back to you with questions like, how did this happen? What's going on here? What time of year is it? Where were they located? We're going to be asking you to fill in those details that might be missing and those things that might really draw your reader into the story, as well as let you, again, get that idea and that content that you want to describe to the reader, describe to them in the best way possible so that they really understand what it is you're trying to teach or what lesson you're trying to bring across. Now, when we're refining content, we're also going to identify problems. Some of you may have thought that when you first got your DE that was actually someone who would be doing copy editing, someone who'd be going in and looking at grammar, punctuation, spelling, and the mechanics of writing. And DEs don't actually do that. So that might have been a surprise for a few of you. What we look at is the structure of things, how things are said, where they're said in the document, and whether or not they need to be said. So as well as being asked to provide more information, statistics, details, expert quotes, we may also come back to you and say, hey, this is an awesome story you wrote about llamas, but these 3 paragraphs about cats over here to the right, I get why you had to learn that to be able to teach this about llamas, but we're going to have to lose the cat paragraphs because you've taught it well enough that we don't need to teach the reader everything you had to learn to be able to teach your subject to the reader. So occasionally you're going to see places where they ask you to delete things. And if you ever have a question about anything that your DE's asked you to add, to delete, to change, to move, ask those questions. Your DE is there for you at any time. So if you have a question about anything from, does this quote sound right? Does this work in this place? To, can you sit down with me and help me come up with an outline for my book? Can you help me come up, how do I do a story inventory? Can you sit down and help me do that? Your DE can get on a phone call with you and walk you through any one of those things that you have a question about. So if you're wondering why I keep saying talk and talk on the phone and and let us see your reading, it's because the key to making all this work is communication. If we don't know what you're working on or what idea you're trying to express or what lesson you're trying to teach or what things you want to expose readers to, we can't help you with those ideas. We can give you general writing advice. We can restructure things for the best is what we can guess at what you're getting at. But if we don't know what you're wanting to write about and what you're trying to get across, we can't be specific enough to help you do what it is you want to do. So take advantage as much as possible of those opportunities to have those phone calls, to have those moments where you just chat online with your DE, or where you have work that you want your DE to look at and review. And if you need it back right away, let them know so they can get to it right away and get you feedback as soon as possible. So that's kind of what we do and how we do it. Does anybody have any questions, like I said, about what we do, editing, the process, anything?
Good question. How long do we have access to our editors?
You have access to your editor basically throughout the process from this point forward. Now, what's going to happen is you're going to have different editors as you move forward. So after you go through the pre-approval phase, you'll still be working with your DE while you start to do some of those base revisions. You're going to start to build a chapter. You're going to start to build an introduction. You're going to start to really take the bones of your book that you're putting together with these stories and build a structure around it. So let's think about that. Right now you're building a foundation, and then we're going to build the house on top of it.
Okay.
So once you start that house building, you're going to meet your marketing editor. And then as you finish with your kind of house building and you're like, this is the house, it's awesome, I want people to see it, then it's going to go to your copy editor, who is going to go through and look for those mechanical things, such as commas, periods, parallelisms, all those fun things that you learned about in 8th grade and then just went, I just don't care anymore. This is a group of people that still care, and they'll take you through that process. But the whole time, you can always come back and ask your developmental editor a question or ask them to look at something quickly for you if you have additional questions.
Awesome. Do you guys have any questions at all?
What is the pre-approval phase?
I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
What is the pre-approval phase? Like, how would we get pre-approved?
What's the pre-approval?
Phase.
Sorry, I'm only...
The pre-approval phase?
Okay, the pre-approval phase is you're working up to that now. So I know that Eric gave you some dates in May, June, and July for when different points of your book are actually going to be looked at and reviewed by New Degree Press. So pre-approval is right now you're putting together your stories and you're working towards a 15 to 20,000 word count. You're looking to assemble the stories and statistics you need, again, to build that house. This is the foundation. Might be a bit wobbly, but that's okay. And that is kind of what the pre-approval phase is. That is when, before that is due, you're going to want to make sure that you have started your introduction. They'll probably ask you for a first chapter or chapter structure. They will probably ask you for a rough book structure. Now again, all these things are rough. They can change as you continue to do revisions. And then they'll be looking at that word count. Now, if you are a poet, something to keep in mind, the word count does not apply to poetry. We're not expecting someone to pump out the Iliad in time for pre-approval. Poet, we're looking for a total number of poems, not 20,000 words of poetry. So if you're a poet, you're going to be aiming for between 65 and 90 poems, depending on length.
Wait, do we have are you writing? No, you're doing fiction. We don't have poets in here, right? Okay.
So what is the date for
Oh,
pre-approval?
For, let's see, you're in group. Let me check real quick. I believe yours is a little later.
July 7th. I know, there's no way. It is. I'll be like, we can't finish. That's good, gosh. I'm so excited though. I'm really freaking excited.
I mean, I've read written like that.
It doesn't matter. Like this is like, guys. How was it? That's so funny.
For your group, it is May 26th.
What if we don't finish by then?
Well, that's just it. No one's going to be finished by the
Okay.
pre-approval. That is not the same as saying your rough draft manuscript, right? So those are actually two different dates. Pre-approval is saying that you're at a go forward point. You're at a good position to move forward with working on your book.
Perfect. Thank you.
Guys, the first manuscript rough draft. Hang on, I got that date for you here. I believe that's July.
Like I was literally looking up editing for books and how much it is. It can go to like $15,000. The whole thing. 15 grand. 15 grand to get editors behind your book. It's like
I
insane.
believe your manuscript date is July 7th. I'll need to double check that.
Yeah, that's it. That's what Eric told us too.
Okay.
Yeah.
If we're don't have like what we should have by then, I'm going to.
No, so like it's like if you see the editors have to see where you're at by May 26th, and if you're on track to publish, then you're good.
Oh.
You're just be on track. So it's like oh, like you're in good shape, like you're doing well right now, like you'll finish by then.
Like what word count?
Like what word count? I don't know. What word count would you say, or how many stories by the May date?
Yeah, and that's where you're looking for the 15 to 20,000, unless you are a poet. If you're a poet, do not panic about that word count because you're doing something completely different. Those word counts are really applicable to fiction and nonfiction.
Okay, so 2 to 3 stories a week to get to your to be on track to publish.
Yeah, the truth is right now, if everybody were to write literally 525 words every day, so about a page a day, you would have more than 20,000 words, even if you were at 0 today, by the pre-approval date.
500 words is really nothing. It's like a few paragraphs. It's like a page. Like
so if you like, let's say you don't have
yeah, what happens if you miss that date?
Honestly, I wouldn't plan on missing that date. You'll still have time to write. Mm-hmm. But, of course, you're going to be crammed up a little bit because if you're going to try to want to make the manuscript date.
Yeah.
So I don't recommend missing the date. It's a lot easier if you don't. If you do, there is more writing time, but you will be crammed up a little bit because if you're wanting to make the manuscript date, you're still only going to have that 6 weeks after your manuscript's been approved to do the revision.
Yeah. Okay. So if you are behind or anything, 500 words a day roughly will get you above 20,000 words.
More than, yeah.
More than like 2 to 3 stories a week, and you're good. I'll show you guys like what mine looks like, just to get an idea of like how to approach the stories a little bit more if you want. But yeah, any other questions? We're good? Okay, we're gonna get into the hook writing workshop now. So Eric, so this is our last story technique, and it's just how to start hooks. So we're gonna do it with Eric. He already pre-filmed a video for us. So we're gonna watch this.
Welcome. This week we are talking about hooks. Now, one of the inspirations for me actually to sort of talk about how to teach in this sort of writing technique actually came from the startup space. I was teaching people how to sort of pitch their sort of startup a little bit better, and I realized that one of the most challenging parts of a pitch was really making sure you captured the audience's attention when you were pitching your startup at the very, very beginning. And so as I started to spend a lot of time researching, I realized that there's this concept in the idea of a pitch is called a hook. And that hook is something that really grabs your listener, your reader, to really want to learn more. And it is that first bit of a pitch, first 5 to 15 seconds of a startup pitch or an idea pitch, or the first 1 to 12 sentences of something that really grabs your reader and makes sure that. So a lot of the concepts here are really about attention grab, making sure you get the person's attention in order to be able to have them want to read on, listen on, or see what's coming. So this technique is actually leveraging the power of the hook. That's sort of an inspiration for you to not only want to read on, but to write on. So what I've learned a little bit is that sometimes we need your own little jolt to be excited about a story. right? You want to
Is it too fast? Are you guys okay with it? Okay. So you should do videos.
start with the hook and then have that inspire the rest. So this is really a technique that's designed to have you start with the hook and then write the rest of the story from there. Because sometimes if you're excited about this, grabbing a part of the attention, it may lead to other things. So there's no slides for this presentation. I'm actually just going to focus specifically on this demo template that I got here called the hook writing template. And this will be in your story folder that you can use and use this. I'm going to walk through it and then I'm going to give you an example. I've been sort of sharing this example of story about time menage, and I'll show you how I might use it if I want to basically find a hook to inspire me to write a story. And again, this technique is really designed how you start with a hook and then be inspired to write the rest of it from there. So that's how this technique will work with it. So let me start by taking you through the template. This is called a writing template. And what it is designed similar to some of the other templates we've done, the template, story inventory template, as well as the nugget writing template. It's designed to give you a space up above to write story and below to basically kind of write your hook. Because typically what you'll be doing is you'll be using this as a hook and then write the rest of the story from there. So you may actually combine the hook writing with the 7 plots or the hook writing with the nuggets. Whatever your approach is, you can do it this way. But this is really designed to have you start with the hook to inspire yourself once you're done. So there's a space up above to write, and then below is where we're going to talk about the hook writing piece. Now, I always like to recommend that you start by sort of doing this story concept from any inventory of what it may be. What are some of the key points you think that may be behind the story? What's the key lesson you think you might want to share in the story? And then any 3Ds to include. Remember, this is just like a story inventory we've done. It can be a mini inventory of it. You could use all of it, none of it, whatever it is. But basically, just get you inspired and starting to think about it. So this is the place that I usually like to start with, is by putting some notes in there about what do I think the story would be about. And from there, we go down to the hooks. Now, what we've done here in this concept is laid out a series of different types of hooks that team commonly use with some examples. We've got the hook that is called the cliffhanger hook. We've got the analogy hook, the bold claim hook, the personal hook, the teaser introduction quote hook, the teaser question hook, and the teaser data hook. All of these are, again, sort of the ideas behind sort of the first 1 to 12 sentences, so the first early part of this entire sort of process. So what I am trying to do is, my goal here is to kind of go through them and see if some of them spark some type of inspiration that I can do. I'm going to quickly walk through them all for you, and then we'll go into this one and we'll actually do a demo using the story I've been talking about before about Hassan Minaj, the Daily Show comedian who we've talked about a couple of times. Let's start by going through them, and in each one of these, I've basically taken a hook example from one of my prior authors that you can use to understand more about this hook. So let's start by talking about the cliffhanger. The cliffhanger is really one of those things that ends with a cliffhanger statement. But what he didn't know then was that this would change everything. It's kind of that sort of thing that happened. So here's a quick example for you to see if you do it. And again, you can feel free to click into these ones that are going along the way to sort of see what this is. So this is taken from a story of a book called What the F is Watching by Ari Gordon that's coming out this summer. And he talks about this sort of moment when he was working in his mother's cannabis distribution facility in Oregon, and he had this sort of moment that changed everything. So the story that he tells, a personal story, when his mother was selling a sales rep some cannabis solution to see if they wanted to buy it, and along the way, he misheard her and thought she'd said cannabis kombucha. And so what happened then at the end was that basically his mom sort of volunteered him to basically create cannabis kombucha for the sales rep. So the sort of cliffhanger moment ends with him basically saying, that simply changed. My life was about to change forever. Dun, 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 right? So that's the concept of how you would do what's called a cliffhanger hook. Now, again, in this case, you would sort of end with a statement in that way of the cliffhanger statement. One of the questions that people ask me, how do I do this? My typical advice is that you actually start with the cliffhanger statement and work backwards from there. So in this case, if I had the story from Ari, which was, hey, I want to tell the sort of story a little bit about like working in the story about the kombucha lotion, the cannabis lotion and the cannabis kombucha, what I would in some ways do is I would start with the cliffhanger statement. And so this would set up a dramatic chain of events for me that would help me understand blockchain, right? Like that's kind of what it's about. So you may start with this one and then fill in the story behind it. Start with the cliffhanger statement and work backwards. Usually that's the way I recommend you write these books. Start with the statement, sort of the statement you want to do for the last line of the book, and then work backwards into the story. So in that case, I would start, in Ari's case, I would basically sort of said, with that simple exchange, my life is about to be changed forever. That's kind of the cliffhanger, and then you fill in the statement. That's the cliffhanger. The next one is the analogy. And again, this is a way that you can sort of analogize something else to what your book is more specifically about. So in this case, this is taken from a book by a woman named Kate Johnson, who's writing a book about the unfair advantage of being different in a company. And so she tells the story of Ursula Burns, who is the first African-American female CEO of a Fortune 500 company, which is very rare. And so she basically talks about the story of Ursula. And as many people told me, I had 3 strikes against me. I was black, I was a woman, and I was poor. Right? So that's kind of the statement she makes. And then, and what analogy she used is this, like she was different, and Ursula Burns was different, and that was her greatest advantage. The analogy then is just like her being different, being different can be your competitive advantage. So the analogy of just like her, she was different. Similarly, you can in the same way be different. So being different is your competitive advantage. Can be the last sort of analogy statement. Much like Ursula Burns was different, and that was her competitive advantage. Being different can be your competitive advantage. So that's how the analogy would connect. We would start much like in the story, the hero could also, in that way. So the next one is the bold claim. The bold claim is one where you make a bold statement that, again, sort of tries to make something much bigger than you may have thought about. The bold claim can be, and that can cost you, thousands of hours, millions of dollars, tons of effort, or this represents a $1 billion issue, or this is one of the largest crises facing the world. You make a bold claim at the end of your hook. So here's another example, in this case, from Kyle Thompson, his book, Pricing Forces, Market Summer, is that he talks about this idea from actually a friend of mine named Scott Cates, who is the founding CTO of Priceline.com, which is a very big travel company. In the story, he tells how sort of Scott realized that pricing was a big issue, not just for companies like Priceline in the travel space, but for small businesses. And he writes this sort of statement here: if you went into that chalkboard with prices on it and changed one number today, you'd have 25,000 in your bottom line this year. So statement talks more about Scott, and then at the end, basically again, kind of this sort of bold claim. And according to Scott, that can cost you $25,000 just on top of that coffee. Right? So again, it's a bold claim where you use the statement of its numbers or dollars and makes a bold claim, just that can cost you $25,000 a cup of coffee. Again, that's how you use the bold claim. Start at the end, that can cost you, that hurt you, whatever it would be to represent $1 issue, and then work backwards in the story from there. The personal one is another sort of thing of the story, and again, this is also from Pricing Forces by Kyle Thompson. He tells a personal story about his grandfather in this case, and tells the story of his grandfather and how he exposed his grandfather, who had been working in garages for a long time doing rental cars and stuff like that, about this new emerging thing called Zipcar, which is sort of a peer-to-peer car rental service. And so he tells his story and how his grandfather had heard him talking about Zipcar, and then basically said, never, never ever going to work, and that's a fact, says his grandfather. And then, this like sort of last statement, my brother and I didn't have the heart to explain that Zipcar was already working fine in several cities. Technology enabled something that was a truly paradigm shift from what was possible before. But then what he done in this case is he basically made a personal story and said what he had learned. Like, this was something that changed the way I thought about it. This has been the change, this personal insight that Kyle took from that. And what you would do in this case, a personal story, and then why did you learn something that changed the way you thought? The next one is a teaser introduction. This is sort of a way that you introduce a character you're going to talk about later, or sort of the hero you're going to talk about a bit later. So you're going to oftentimes add this surprising twist. You're going to talk a little bit about this character or this hero, and then basically kind of tease if there's something coming along that's going to be shocking. This person represents the new face of Blake. You never know Blake. I was shocked to learn that. Those sorts of things. So here's an example of a hook from Madeline Anthony. She's writing a book about the future of law, how the legal practices changes. There's this very sort of short teaser that she has here that says, talks about Austin Marvellis, who sort of she talks about more as a sort of emerging face of the legal industry. But what's interesting about Austin is a lawyer yet, maybe never even going to go to law school, but change stuff. It's an honor to have these conversations with people that are building a new industry, currently a junior. That's right, he's not a lawyer yet, or maybe never. But he may represent a player in the future of law one way or another. Right? This idea to sort of tease this hero or character in a way that's interesting. So that's an example of how you can tease or introduce kind of that character with a quote or concept around that. The teaser question is another one where you can actually sort of ask a question of your reader that basically teases them to think about something. So again, you lead with a question: is this something unique or something that all of us could have? How could I learn more? Where is the world headed? Like asking these sorts of teaser questions you can think about. And here's another example that you might have. Again, this is from a book called Mind Sports, Brandon Gustafson, where he looks at sort of mind sport athletes. These are people who play chess or people who do video games or esports, where they're basically training their mind to be better. So how could we learn how to be smarter or use our mind better like them? And so what he talks about is this sort of story about this guy named Wim Hof, who is basically a modern marvel of how he's able to refine what's possible. His name is the Iceman, and he earned this nickname after these remarkable feats. He climbed Mount Kilimanjaro without a shirt on. He ran a half marathon barefoot with no shirt on again. Nearly summited Everest in just Hamilton shorts. He ran a marathon in the desert without any water. Again, truly remarkable. And so then the question he ends with is this Wim a medical marvel, or is it something everyone is capable of? Right? This idea of like asking us a question to think about. So the idea here is like asking that question. And teaser question, sort of tell a little bit of the story, and then you ask a question to make your reader think about it. And the last one is what I would describe as teaser data. This is sort of the way that you can talk about a piece of data that makes you think. So in with a statement that says this represents blank, this is potentially blank, this is just the beginning. Kind of using this data as a way to tease us that something bigger coming on. And here's sort of some story from a woman named Amber Tang, and her book is about this concept of data science, a really important resource in the world. And so she talks about data. She uses some information about it. We produce 2.5 trillion bytes daily. which, to make this statement here that even more striking is 90% of the world's data has been produced in only the last 2 years. And here's where she sort of has this like teaser data that she listens to. It represents what may be the most valuable resource countries have at their fingers since the Dutch unlocked the power of free credit markets in the 1700s. Because she uses data to tease this thing and then tells us why that's really powerful, uses all this data to get our hands around. This is an example of these sorts of different teasers. We've got multiple of them, sort of these 7 different hooks that you can do that you can use in this way. So here's how you would use this if you wanted to basically make this example. What I'm going to do is I'm going to copy it out in this way, and I'm going to basically write it in this way. I'll leave it in this folder here, and I'll write Hassan Minhaj hook.
Okay, everyone copy this thing. I think the hook writing template should be in. Let me check. Everyone, this is David, by the way. He's joining us this quarter.
What's up?
Say hello.
I'm David.
That's not even on the slide. You want to say names really, really fast? Everyone get acquainted.
Oh, I'm going.
What's up, Paul?
Awesome. So we're just going over a story structure today. I will link you to all the ones that we've kind of gone over already. And you can just like review them at home. But let me.
Yeah, I found it.
Oh, you found it? Session materials?
Yeah, session materials.
Great stories.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. So find it here and then go to document, copy. I'm going to copy it too. And write hook writing template. And you can put your initials so you know it's yours. And then copy it and then move it to your folder. Go to document, copy document, rename it, copy to private. And then once it's in your private, go to document and then move to folder, shared folders, UCLA or I'm president. And then author materials and then your folder. Then create stories. All right. Okay, doke. Let me know now you guys have it. How's the quarter been for you?
Pretty chill so far.
Very good. Pretty chill. I mean, it's gonna pick up really fast, but like so far it's okay. Yeah. Do you guys have it? Yeah, you got it? Okay.
Driven story as an example. And I'll put the example in the folder for you as well. So again, what I would do is if you remember the story of Hassan Minhaj that I've shared a few times, the story that I told and I actually sort of included is this story where he had, wanted to be a comedian. His parents didn't really want him to do it. They really wanted him to go to law school. He took the LSAT, waiting to go, and decided that he had to like pursue his own dream in comedy, launch a YouTube channel. It was mediocre at best, so he invested in some more, some money into it, actually kind of created his own graduate school to learn how to create content, comedy, and sort of share these things in that way. And then basically what he did from there is use that to sort of eventually get on the Daily Show. So what I would do is if I were writing this story, if I were making this about, the big lesson here is that you can create your own graduate school or degree. And I include some 3Ds in here, some dialogue and stuff like that. How would I use these sort of content here, the hanger of these other pieces behind it? How would I do those pieces? Well, some of the things that I would do is I would start with the cliffhanger. If I wanted to do the cliffhanger, I would write the cliffhanger. Maybe what I would do here is I would say, if I were doing this one, Hassan didn't realize it yet, but this decision would lead him to become the youngest correspondent on the Daily Show, right? So again, you see what I've done here is I basically created my cliffhanger statement right here that kind of gives me this, that might be the cliffhanger thing that I want, and I can go in and write sort of the teaser part of it, the cliffhanger, or the analogy that I might have in this case, right? I wanted to basically use an analogy of how he'd done something. So, for example, I could make this analogy statement. So for what the actual in this case is Hassan Minhaj had actually sort of created his own graduate degree. So, much like Steve Jobs had discovered the power of creating products for the rebellious generation, Hassan Minhaj realized he was part of the new generation creating their own graduate education. And so if I then up here in the analogy, I tell the story of how Steve Jobs had realized that he needed to create products not for everyone, but for this kind of rebellious set. That's sort of the way that Apple got started. And I could tell the story of Steve Jobs and Apple. Right? That's kind of the story that I would tell as the analogy. So just like Steve Jobs, Hassan Minhaj, I could write a hook in that way. The bold claim. So in this case, you sort of make a statement that rather than spend $250,000 on a graduate degree he didn't want, Hassan would change his life from a small investment in a camera and some video editing. Right? So I make this bold claim about he saved all this money by doing it this way. So again, start with this sort of bold claim and then work backwards to tell the story in this case. The personal insight, right? In this case, maybe if I want to tell a personal insight is, I tell the story, if I want to talk about Hassan Minhaj, remember I'm a lawyer, so I could tell the story here and I could talk about, unlike Hassan Minhaj, I did go to law school and had to unwind my legal training to eventually become an entrepreneur. So again, up here, I would talk about my personal story about being a lawyer and going to law school, right? And I'm just telling the personal story and tying it to the bigger story that I want to tell in that case. That's kind of my hook in that story. The teaser introduction, right? Like this is the one where you basically are sort of creating your surprising twist here. So I want to tell this twist. Most comedians start by toiling in comedy clubs, but Hassan would become one of the world's most famous comedians by investing his time in the emerging channel of YouTube, right? So again, I made this twist, sort of introduce this character, that how he got in there, a teaser question here. The question I might ask for this case is I might ask, again, I'm just sort of putting these sort of statements here so you can see them as these bold sort of statements. Remember, you see what I'm doing here? I'm starting at kind of the end. I'm starting with my, again, my sort of the teaser line or the teaser statement, and then I'm working backwards. So in this case, for the teaser question, could all of, maybe a teaser question in this case, should more of us be skipping graduate school to create our own path, right? So there's a question here that I asked the reader, right? In this case, should that happen? And then teaser data, right? In this case, sort of the idea I think you've heard me say before is that there's 730,000 graduate degrees. So in 2015, 213 graduate degrees were issued, up from 240,000 in 1999. Should more people be skipping? Maybe take a statement here, like has the graduate degree become watered down as a result? So, could I be talking about data in this way and be using this as my statement or this question or claim? So again, this is the way that I would use this. Remember, what I'm doing here is I'm trying to kind of inspire myself to make this in something I want to write. So I've got the cliffhanger, which is basically this cliffhanger statement. I didn't realize it yet, but this decision could lead him to become the youngest correspondent on the Daily Show. The analogy, much like Steve Jobs and Apple had discovered the power of creating products for the rebellious generation, Hassan realized he was part of the new generation creating their own graduate education, like the analogy process. Bold claim, rather than spending $250,000, he didn't want, Hassan would change his life with a small investment in the camera and some video equipment. Personal story. Unlike Hassan Minhaj, my personal story did go to law school and had to unwind my legal training.
Okay, you guys understand the plan of right? So just another method you can use. It's particularly good, I think, if you need inspiration, because you can start with the end result and you build forward from that. Okay, so we've gone through a lot of writing techniques, right? You can use, whichever ones that are easiest for you. Once again, if you need a refresher, you go to UCLA and you go to session materials, create stories, resources. We have all the things that we've gone over. Are we still on recording? Yeah. These are all the story structures. So the 7 basic story plots, once again, These are like the different methods of stories. We have like we have A through G. And how you can use this is you just take this, you copy this whole thing, copy and paste into a doc, and then you fill this in. So like introduce hero, you'd introduce your hero, and then you fill this in, then you'd fill this in. So you can really choose whatever you want for the 7 basic story plots. And then we just did hook writing. Once again, copy this and then fill it in. We did nugget writing last class or last session, which was like you get a hit of inspo and then you want to fill in on it. That's an example, and then the hook example is here too. So these are all the examples of stories we've done. And then in regards to actually writing, I know some of us, we get writer's block, which is so normal, but some tips that I've been doing. Let's see. Okay. Okie doke. Okay, so for me, it's much easier for me to write once I know what I'm writing about, big picture wise. So I kind of made an end goal for myself in the structure. So if I go to, create stories. Okay, progress tracker. So I recommend everyone creates a progress tracker. Have you guys made one?
Yeah.
Yeah? Okay, if you haven't made one, go to your folder. Like we can do this right now while we're together. And here, I'll make one with you. David, are you on Quip?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Okay, dope. Yeah, go to your folder, or I'll like even make one in the shared folder. I think I already made one of these, but we'll do it again. And you can pretty much just title your stories. And you can title like 10 at once if 10 come to you or whatever. And then this way you're going to be able to set dates for yourself as to when you want to get that story done. And then what I would put instead of attachment is I would change this to a text box. So add column text ideas / inspiration. So for example, most books will start with an intro about the author and what made them actually want to write it. And that kind of also gives you an idea of what you want to write about yourself. So I'd recommend everyone make sure they have an introduction story done. It's just going to help you know where you want to go with what you're writing. And then here you can pick your status of it. We went over this a little bit in the last session, but just in case. And then ideas. So for example, in my intro, I want to introduce myself as an author / my story, why I even care about health, wellness. And you can add really anything. Share a story about how I'm younger and something happened and it pushed you, it inspired you to learn more and more about nutrition, etc. Then connect this story to the main. This all would be this big clear roadmap as to what your book is about for readers and then you can throw in insert hook that will segue into the first chapter. Okie doke. And then we'll say story number 1. Chapters, don't worry about chapters. We're not doing chapters yet. We're going to compile all the stories into chapters once you're approved, which will you'll all be approved. In story number 1, I can write, purpose, and it could be about me. So the hero is me, so author. And I can just talk about whatever, like why am I even writing this book? What's the point? And these are questions I'd want to answer in this story. Et cetera, and then story number 2, I can get into the first here. Katya, what is so eco winners, right? Where are you with your stories?
So far I wrote 3 stories.
Awesome.
They're all really rough.
It's okay.
And one of them is just like the voiceover of an interview.
Okay, and what's the interview about?
It's about like advocacy,
Advocacy, okay, for example. Okay, advocacy. what it is and why we need it. For example, a story title. Okay, example. So this is the first story, and then we can go another one. We can hit add row. Story number 3. And then this one can be like an actual story. John Smith and his journey in advocacy. Do not do that, but you know what I'm saying. So like this is what I'm saying. So like here you start out your intro, and then you're talking more about yourself, into why you even care about what you're writing about. And then your second one, or your like actual story, you're getting into a topic, and this topic is advocacy. And for example, advocacy can be like one whole part of your book, right? And then within advocacy, you have a bunch of chapters about advocacy. And then within advocacy, we have a story. The story is about John Smith and his story. So here, you copy and paste your interview here, add context, tie it into a lesson, make this your but so what, right? So this story alone, you're not doing anything. You're just tying your interview here. So this one story is an interview, and all you're doing is contextualizing your interview. And then let's say we do another row, story number 4. So story number 4 can expand what we got out of this interview. So let's say John Smith says the best method of advocacy is social media. He really believes in social media for advocacy, and he thinks that if you use it the right way, then it's very powerful. But if you use it the wrong way, it's really damaging too. So John, we can be the power of social media to destruct and empower, for example. And here we're going to tie John Smith's interview to this concept of social media. I'm not capitalize that. Social media. And the idea here is you are taking the meat of an interview and then you're adding your voice to it. So like, let's say you have 300 words, or 600 words actually, you have through the interview, and then another 600 words is you reflecting on that interview. And that's a 1,200 word story, just based on you giving your opinion. You're just responding, right? So tie John to the concept of social media and what you think about social media advocacy. You are connecting an interview. Let's say a 600 word interview. To your response. This gives you a 1,200 plus word story. Okay, so now we have this. And then this story is really complex, right? Social media can be destructive and it can be empowering with advocacy. So you can then add another column, add another story. Story number 5, like a case study, but you wouldn't call it case study. Case study, the power of, or like, you can just say, the power of social media, investigating this. Or you can even, okay, empower, but you change the title. And then in this next story, you'd throw in case studies here and research papers from online databases. Use UCLA's databases of like 1 million to prove, like a research paper, how awesome social media can be for advocacy. And then you guessed it, story number 6. Investigating the detriments of social media for advocacy. And then you throw in more case studies about the harmful effects of social media, tie in your voice later on. This entire process of attaching research will make it incredible and have new course. Okay, so you see how we started with this concept of advocacy. And so whatever you're writing about, think of one concept and then tie it to an interview. The interview, you respond to the interview. And then you say, oh, this interview he talked about social media in this interview. So now I'm going to write about social media. And social media is very complex. So we have both the power to, it can be empowering and it can be really destructive with advocacy. So story number 4, you're going to talk about it. You're going to give your voice. You're going to be like, oh, social media, you can just put a statistic like 80% of, that's crazy now. Let's say like 25% of people who use social media through advocacy are able to share their voice or have like a 6,000 person reach on average, for example. You throw that in, like an Instagram stat. And then you respond to it, like this illustrates how powerful it can be, but if you use the right way, etc. And then here we do that all here, and then we do the detriments. And then you could tie in another interview what someone else thinks about social media. So this whole thing's about what? John Smith? Okay. Now we'll do someone else. Story number 6. Bob, Bill, and his journey social media. Yeah.
So let's say we go to like this area of like papers or whatever and we cite something. Do we like do like a citation?
There's ways you can do it. You can either use footnotes, which most authors do. I'll show you. This book has good examples. Okay. I'm recording. I'm using Genius Foods as an example to show how citations work. So look here. I don't know if you guys can see. He's talking about nutrition deficiency, and then he has like a 6 little thing there. I forgot what they're called. And then in the back of the book, he has all of his citations. So like that. It's called the notes section. And then he just cites all of the things he uses. So you don't even have to be like, in a study conducted at Harvard in 2006 with this many participants, this many freaking whatever, you can just put a footnote. And the footnote you have to cite though, because you're using people's research that they publish. So you have to. Your editor's going to know.
If you're using a book that used citations, do you cite the book?
No,
Or
cite
the-
the research.
Okay.
Yeah, because they said, if you don't want to give credit to cite the research. Because research is research. It doesn't matter who used it. They're still using someone else's published stuff. Yeah.
So when we do those, are we citing at the end of a paragraph? Or it's not gonna be like every.
It could be in the middle of the paragraph. If you're citing, then like at the end of a sentence. So let me show you another example.
Okay, then I'd have something at like at the end of the sentence. We should kind of go that one.
Are they a bunch of separate studies you're using? Oh, in one paragraph?
Oh yeah, a lot.
Ask your editor, then he'll tell you.
Okay.
Then there's a way to do it that isn't like tacky and stuff. Yeah. Trying to find another example of like other ways. Oh, I don't have it with me. Other ways to do it is by actually saying like in a study conducted. So there's like variety. Okay, so also with your progress tracker, you can call this part 1, advocacy. You see that? So you already have 6 stories based on advocacy. And this is just one concept that ties to the environment, right?
Right.
So let's go add a row. Story, crap. Number 7, story number 8. It can even be a question. Let's think like, okay, now we can say the future. So where social media is heading. Obviously make it nicer, the title. And then now we are taking everything we've studied and chewed on and translating it to the future. Where is this all going to go? And you can find research, tie research in. Make credible. Okie doke. So advocacy and social media is done. Now let's add another one. We can start at story number 9. Yeah. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, I'm gonna post this. But I just take advantage of the progress tracker because like we already have, for example, 9 stories done technically. You know what I mean? If you just sit there and like think a little bit, like I'm not writing about advocacy. Like if you're actually writing about advocacy, then these are all gonna come to you like so much faster too. And then story number 9 would be advocacy and bye. Have a good night. Bye. Any ideas? I'm just thinking advocacy and like advocacy. What are social media? Okay, let's do advertisements, TV, or we already did media. Let's say like on campus, like college campuses and advocacy. Advocacy and college campuses. Okay, now we're introducing a new concept. So now we go, boom, introducing a new concept. This concept in itself is going can attach to a bunch of stories, right? So once again, this is like a really, this method works for me because you can attach a general concept, which you're just going to explain to an interview, to your opinion. And then it's just like a constant stream of like ideas because you're just growing on a basic concept. And that's like fairly easy to do if you're passionate about what you're writing about. Okay, so advocacy in college campuses, and then we're going to add another row. Row number 10. We can interview a student in the Bruin Democrats Club and what they think about college campus advocacy. So Sophia Rogers and Paul, or not even, you have to put their name in it. I wouldn't even put their name in it. I don't care, whatever. Here, introduce a new person from an interview, Sophia, who will talk about her experiences as part of the Bruin Democrat Club as advocacy. And then you can have fun. You can say story 11. Story 11 is your response to Sophia's interview, right? And then story 12 would be add variety to who you're interviewing. So you can say a Bruin Republican and what they think about college advocacy, because they might think two completely different things, maybe because of how the platform they're given on their college. Someone opposite person and add variety and interview and response to this. Show how the interviewee affects what they think about. Okay, so do you get the idea? That's like already 12 stories based on advocacy. So we've connected advocacy to social media, and we've connected advocacy to college campuses. So like you're actually speaking, not virtual, like offline. And then just like, we'll do the last one here, add another progress tracker. So project, let's say the next part of it is taking action. So advocacy is, for example, awareness, right? So taking action, what works and what doesn't. So now you're gonna go and analyze all these methods that people actually do. So for example, lobbying, sending emails, all these really like concrete methods of advocacy. And now you're gonna dissect people who do those things. So people that, for example, raise awareness versus people that send an email versus people that go lobby versus people that do all these things. You're going to tie in the interviews like we just did here. So just another example. Oh, this thing. Go here.
Yeah.
Add, oh, I like right clicked. Here, this thing, add column. And then you can, oh my God, you can add person so you know who you're interviewing. So, oh wait, no, never mind. Wait, no, it's like person on click. You can make it text though, and then you can input.
Just add.
For number 1, is this working? So is what working? Says the reader. And then you're going to be like, is your form of advocacy working? And then you can like provide an introduction to the types of advocacy and advocacy you're going to be diving into. Concrete methods. And then here we talked about social media on college campuses. Here we're going to be talking about lower scale, taking action, what works and what doesn't. Or even, this is just an idea. I'm not even writing about this, but you could do like or whoever in general. So here you talk about what they all are. So it's like a very fact, like encyclopedia, like what this all is. Here's examples of how people have used it, and this is what I think about them. And then here you can get into, this is like comparative style. So here's what works and what doesn't. So story number 1, is this working? And then you can dissect and compare social media with college, emails with lobbying. And you can be like, through all this analysis, we see that the most effective way to advocate for something you care about or stand for your beliefs is through X, Y, and Z.
Right.
And then that's when you're like proposing a solution. Like that's when your book becomes powerful, because you're showing, okay, go do this. You know, you're not just giving information. Like you can go on Wikipedia for that. You know what I mean? Now you're being like, do this, you know, but so what is like, take action through this as a reader. And that's the point of your book, to have that at the end.
Also, I like still didn't get how you had the read.
All good. Choo.
Okay, wait.
Choo choo.
I'm doing it right now.
I'm
Okay,
saying leave
I
that
follow.
there.
And
Okay, and then text.
Then, okay.
And then,
But then it gives you like this one.
yeah.
How would you do like the second?
Oh, status? Wait, what
no,
do you?
like the second chart? You know how you did part 1? And then part
Oh, you don't. Oh, I don't mean that. That's wrong then. Go here. Hit the @ sign. Like start a text and hit Shift 2.
two? Okay, got it.
Got it? And then hit progress. Type in prog. And then
Okay.
after you put prog, it'll come up.
Okay.
Yeah. So we'll tie in here. So in this part of the story, we are going to take what we explained in part 1 and dissect it. So of what we explained and explain what actually works. Compare them. See, analyze trends. Then, okay. Right? So that's that whole thing. And then here. Crap. Here. Project tracker. This is part 3. So the idea of part 3 is getting the reader to actually go do something. So first part, we set the scene. We explain what everything is. We give interviews. We give context. Second part, we analyze what actually works, what actually doesn't work, and we give an idea of what the reader should do with the information we gave them. Part 3, what are you going to do now? This is really free for you. It's really personal, this part, I think. And this isn't the structure of how books should be. This is just what I came up with as to like how my ideas kind of flow. But I think I strongly, strongly, strongly recommend giving yourself like an hour. It doesn't take an hour, but if you're not thinking of anything, sit down and fill in a bunch of potential story ideas, because then there's no way you're going to kind of be stressed about not having anything to write about, because you're going to have a bunch of prompts waiting for you. So once you have the prompts, the writing comes to you very fast. So, right, this is our part 3. So what are you going to do about it now? Once again, story number 1 can be tying your passion, or you can say connecting passion and action. Okay, that's it. That's the idea here. And then story number 2. When reality hits harder than fantasy. I don't know. These are just examples. Don't actually use these titles unless you can tweak them and make them nice. So in this story, we're talking about the whole principle of connecting what you're passionate about, something that's actually going to work and that's effective. And then in this story, we're talking about when you're passionate about something, but it's not realistic. And you're going to talk about that. And then story number 3 is finding the medium between passion and practicality, for example. And then blah, 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 and it's going to keep coming to you. So this is a potential book already, right? Anyone who's writing about advocacy can take these ideas and tweak them and whatever. So I recommend everyone, yeah, make sure everyone just has, oh crap, everyone. Hi, everyone. The biggest priority for you right now. Actually, okay, okay. I'm gonna end the meeting now. For everyone who's online with us, thanks for tuning in. If you have any questions, message me, your editor, or Eric, and we will get back to you ASAP. And good night.